afternoon, America, and good, very early morning, Australia, and welcome to everyone listening across the planet today. This is the next installment in Insight Intelligence with my wonderful co-host, Mario Bekes. But before I introduce you to Mario, here's what you need to know. If you're listening live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, don't forget to follow in the notes below where you'll have all the information that link to my co-host today. If you're listening whilst you're driving, you can jump on to Insight Intelligence or ToniLontis.com where you'll find all the information and the links for Insight Intelligence and your connection to Mario. Now, a little thing that we've been doing before each show this year, and we will continue to do, is our welcome to country. So this morning, I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language region. That's on the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and broadcast, and pay my respect to the elders past and present, all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people listening here today or who might be watching on the replay. Now, we have been talking about a powerful subject over the last 3 weeks, and it's my privilege to co-host this show with Mario Bekes, who is an intelligence investigator, and he comes with 30 years of experience. But before I introduce you to Mario, you need to know this. Mario grew up in communist Croatia, which was then part of Yugoslavia. And he witnessed a lot of social unrest during that time and found himself in the middle of the Croatian War of Independence. After that time, he was led into the service for his country, and now, after 30 years, Mario is a natural leader, a public speaker, results-driven, best-selling published book author, relationship builder, facilitator with experience in investigative techniques and interviewing, interrogation methods, corporate and human intelligence, and competitive business intelligence. So Mario's worked across the planet in the areas of departments of defence, corporate and insurance sector in Australia and abroad, and he applies his knowledge, expertise and academic research and training to investigative intelligence, investigative interviewing techniques. And he has proven these skills over this time, and I get the privilege of hosting with Mario and talking about today's subject. Good morning, Mario.
Good morning, Toni. Good morning, everybody in US, and good morning, everybody across the globe. It is early morning, and I'm very thankful for talking to you this morning, Toni.
Mario, we were just talking before the show that Mario's headed to the US in not too long. Are you going to LA, Mario?
That's correct, LA. New York was supposed to be on the table as well. That being said, we agreed we're going to meet in LA, so it's going to be the end of the May, yes.
Yes. That's awesome. Now, Mario, this week we wanted to talk about factual investigation. And I think I have my wrong notes up. How terrible is that?
That's okay. It's early. I think we covered this topic last week. Yeah, so that's, but we can do it today again, so it's not the problem, Toni.
Let's not cover stuff that we covered last week, Mario.
No, that's
It's incredibly early, my friends.
It is.
I have to get up at 5 o'clock to put my face on, and obviously my face is not quite ready.
That's okay. We're taking time. It's early
for the show today, but we're going to talk about surveillance investigation, not factual investigation. Surveillance investigation is really fascinating because it covers geospatial intelligence and surveillance. intellectual property theft, online surveillance, and work productivity. And Mario, according to Wikipedia, when I was researching this, it said that it included, the definition according to Wikipedia was that it included observation from a distance by means of electronic equipment such as closed-circuit TV, or interception of electronically transmitted information like internet traffic. And it also includes simple techniques and methods such as human intelligence gathering and postal interception. Surveillance is used by citizens for protecting their neighbourhoods, obviously, but also by governments for intelligence gathering, including espionage, prevention of crime, protection of a process, person, group or object, or investigation of crime. It's also used by criminal investigations organisations to plan and commit crimes, and by businesses to gather intelligence of criminals, their competitors, and for general investigative techniques. Now, Mario, surveillance sounds a little bit like it's not okay, but it's common in your. I'm just, when you think about surveillance, you think of Big Brother, you think of spies and espionage, but it's actually a common part of business, isn't it, Mario?
Well, I'd like to just clarify something at the beginning.
Yes.
Wikipedia, it's a great source. Dr. Google, it's a great source. That being said, surveillance is much more complex than the internet can describe. There is a difference between surveillance work we can do in our type of business, corporate investigations and corporate intelligence, than the government. So I like to clear this straight away. Any type of eavesdropping in Australia, which means intercepting the telecommunications, recording the audio, and any type of electronic recordings of audio types on phones, on mobile phones, on computers, it's illegal. So it's
in Australia?
That's correct. What's the call? There's an act, a Commonwealth Act 1984, which is preventing every eavesdropping, except if it's not being approved by the court of law. So in Australia, corporations like my one, we cannot do these things, but government can do this. But that needs to be approved by government. And I'm pretty sure that's going across any Western countries. The government needs to get approval, government agency from governing bodies or judicial bodies to do this type of investigation, which is including eavesdropping, which usually it's a very fine line, Toni. So I'm gonna start with how these things can be done and what can be done. In my particular business, we're doing surveillances over the personal interest when we're being engaged by the company, insurance company, or any other subject which is requiring to confirm activities of some certain person. Now, that being said, when we get instructions who needs to be under investigation.
Yeah.
What type of investigation is a factual, which we discussed last week, or surveillance investigation? Mentioning that factual investigations is collecting of the evidence and facts, supported by facts, through the conversation and interviewing techniques of the personal interest, client, witnesses, and the list goes on. Yeah. When surveillance comes, you don't inform the person who's going to be under surveillance in the first place. Yeah. And usually the reason why for surveillance it is because personal interest of client, as I say, insurance companies, they need a visual confirmation of capacity of somebody, what he does. So we don't investigate somebody like a police. So government can investigate, excuse me, criminal activity, drug dealings, and we don't do these things. So that's needs to be clear. Moving forward, whenever we've been engaged or we get a referral, we usually get instructions who and for what reason. Usually it's to confirm capacity of somebody. And this is very sophisticated job. Surveillance is being done by individuals. So let me talk about investigators first. this is a different breed of investigators. They are
Yeah.
lone wolves. They can sometimes sit in a car for hours, which
Yeah.
makes them that they need biological needs, like going to the bathroom or anything else, being suppressed or being to find some type of
Yes.
solution. Secondly, preparation goes from our end. So as I mentioned before, referrals being received by somebody, we do a quite extensive background check on somebody to understand their movements, behavior, surroundings, and what will be the best way to approach to that type of investigation. So you don't come 4 o'clock in the morning in somebody's neighborhood with the car running in, on 4 o'clock in the morning with the neighbors
Yes.
open the blinds like, who is this
What's
car? And
going
they
on?
call, yeah. Then the legal requirement is usually this before we commence investigation is to inform the local police station to say
Oh,
this vehicle, this person, license number is going to be in vicinity of this house. So if somebody calls the police and say,
it
"Hi,
says there's,
Tony, I think somebody's in front of your house."
yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of, we'll call this legwork. It's a lot of work being done
Mm.
prior being action in surveillance. So surveillance usually be done before 10 years ago, before digital age, was being done by a camera. Uh, now
Yes.
it's so many gadgets you can install in the car, digital, and communications are very important. That in real time we receive the footage of the somebody and then inform the
Mm.
clients. So being prudential in that respect. So perhaps we don't have the satellite dishes like the CIA, so we can't, control
Yes.
everybody at the same time. But we're
Yes.
managing to have the in real time surveillance as much as close possible, so client can see what somebody is doing. And surveillance usually is being done very, very in sophisticated way because investigator doesn't want to be exposed by the neighborhood or
No.
the climate, and neighbors doesn't want to see this one. Plus, nobody wants to
Yes.
call police. And
Yes.
most importantly, surveillance is not something you just relying on a question techniques because you don't talk to nobody, but to predict behavior of somebody and not to be noticed.
Yes.
I saw in my neighborhood, I know that one of my neighbors has been subject of surveillance, has been caught investigator because look, it was very late evening. It was
Yeah.
almost sunset. He was
Yes.
sitting in the car. It was winter time, and he was holding the leg on a brake, and that the stoplights being reflecting everywhere in the street, right? And the police
Yeah.
arrived, what I mean? And the guy comes out and says he's following me all day. So there's a tragedy, right? Legally, uh, you can follow anybody on the street as long as it's a public place, as long as there's a
Right.
mens rea terra nullius in lanes of trespassing and in other aspects is not being disturbed. You can't go into somebody's business. You can't go into somebody's house.
House.
You can't do this. We cannot do this. Government, in other hand,
They
they
can.
can. They can because they get a warrant from
Yes. And that allows them
the
to go on the
magistrate or
property.
court. Yeah. So that's an interesting part of surveillance. It's very lonely, very lonely
Yes.
job for investigator. A lot of work has been done to understand someone's behavior, and then when the investigation starts, nothing guaranteed that someone's going to come out of the house. So,
Oh, yeah.
for example, we have a lot of fraudulent claims when somebody claims that has been injured so badly and has no capacity, or she has no capacity
To go outside the house.
to go do nothing. And then
Yeah.
yet, during surveillance, and usually we advocating with our clients to take a 3 to 5 days surveillance according to what we've seen so far. So there's a consistency in surveillance. And then that surveillance tape, which we call the tape, there's no tapes anymore, digital footage, you stamp them, you put a time on this one. So
Yeah.
geolocation can be confirmed for somebody that what we saw, what we captured, that this is being done. And Tony, honestly, surveillance is visual surveillance. When I say visual,
Yes.
that's mean to the optics, of the digital camera, DSLR camera, whatever it is. It must be.
Mario, do the team use things like drones? Are they allowed to use drones?
We are not allowed to
No,
do drones.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, because that's an invasion of somebody's privacy. Absolutely.
The airspace, kind
That's
of.
correct. And,
Yeah.
that's an invasion. I mean, invasion of someone's
Mm.
privacy. Look, Tony, we can't stop somebody, for example, right? When you do surveillance, you don't know what people are going to do in a public place, right? So you need to
Yeah.
always be careful of the surroundings. There's no kids, there's no, the
Mm.
military objects,
Yes.
and all these things. But if you have a drone, imagine having drone flying and, as you say,
Mm. Because they're quite noisy.
Mr. X, he's swimming in a pool with a mistress, right? You know what I mean? And then
Yes.
you have
Yes.
the like it doesn't, or you have the children involved, these things, and
Yeah.
it's a literally invasion of the privacy.
Yeah.
However, and that being said, government has these capabilities. We
Yeah.
don't, and we will never. I
Yeah.
always say, people, uh, don't be fancy. That's not a TV shows. That is
Mm-hmm.
not something you can, just seeing on a TV series and some guy sees someone and you need to explain why would you go into somebody's privacy of their home, because
Yeah.
after all, your land, your house, it's protected by laws, acts, and legislations.
Yes.
And you can't just lift a drone and record what's happening in a backyard, because
Yeah.
that is not part of our job. It's
Yeah.
illegal.
Yes.
As I say, government, they can do whatever they want. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mario, that I had
Yes,
a quick
please.
question about espionage because
Yes.
the word espionage just
Mhm.
makes you think of all things spies. Why is espionage different from surveillance?
Well, espionage is process
Yeah.
which is requiring several elements. There's several disciplines in intelligence gatherings, right? You have a technical intelligence, you have mechanical intelligence, you have the open source intelligence, you have the human intelligence, you have the telecommunications, or called the signal intelligence. A list goes on.
Yeah.
Now, espionage, it must be separated in two ways. One is what the government does, and
Mm-hmm.
that covers in economic, industrial,
Mm-hmm.
and against the structure and national security of some country.
Yes, yes.
In our elements, we don't do national security. However, if you come into national security sphere, of course, you're going to find appropriate channels in government
Mm.
who going to take it over. Espionage, it is being part of the romantic
I was
views
just
on
gonna say there's like a Hollywood persona to espionage,
yes,
whereas I'm guessing that most of the hard work is in the surveillance realm with humans watching humans, and that's a long lot of work, isn't it? Like
it is,
it's
Tony.
hours and hours and hours
Yes,
of just observing human behavior.
yeah. Well, first of all, we must separate the differences in corporate world and government. As a government works on
Yes.
national security threats, counterterrorism, they have the list what they do,
Yeah.
and hence why every citizen has been involved in that since 2001, September 11. If you see
Mm.
something, say something, right? So it's
Yes.
prevention. It's a great thing. In corporate world, there's a two distinguished type of espionage: industrial espionage and economic espionage.
Yeah.
Industrial espionage, it's against the company, as you can imagine. Economic is
Mm.
against the country. It's very dangerous, and I mentioned this in previous our shows. There's ample of examples
Yeah.
where the corporation spy on a corporation. One of the easiest way is a headhunting. So they headhunt somebody from somewhere, and
Yes.
people believe they change their jobs. No, it is not. Some people has been hired, and I work with some very delicate cases when the
Yes.
chief technology officer has been approached and been hired by the company XYZ, get a great salary, but doesn't ever work, which means he's divulge information to the competitor by employment. So that's the easiest way. Yes, Tony, please.
Murray, if the employer the employee has signed a non-disclosure agreement, they're headhunted to another company, they can't actually divulge, or they're not supposed to
Of course they
divulge.
can. Of course they can. Of
But they
course they can.
do.
Well, of course not. So that's the ways that come where I'm fitting role in my business.
Yes. I was just going to say that must be a key component of what you do, is trying to protect one company's interests from another company rather.
US is leading the way. They
Yeah.
usually, the large corporations, they're employing ex intelligence operatives and intelligence analysts, military intelligence, and list goes on.
Yeah.
I try to compress our conversation, but
Yeah.
because it could take like forever. The point I try to make: US has big understanding of espionage, and they engage people in company to prevent this. But after all, Tony, I always come back to the one thing. So let's go talk about headhunting. You can, the strongest protection and strongest link in every corporation is a human, but simultaneously, it's a weakest human link. It's a weakest firewall. Human is the firewall. It's a cultural company, the salaries and everything else. And I explain this in several of my books. There's a reason why somebody, it's called the MICE methodology, money in so on, right? Then you have the reasons why somebody becomes the actual informant, because basically someone's become the informant. But you must, before everything, become the target, either company or individual. So a target profile. And that's a lot of work, understanding what we want, what's the key objective, and what we're going to do and how we're going to do modus operandi to come to the information. Information is a most valuable commodity in business.
Yeah.
And if somebody believes that by going home and turning off the laptops at work or the desktop, you're protected, no, you're not. There is the weakness in in us humans. And that's most of corporations ignoring that human intelligence you mentioned before. The part of human intelligence engagement, it's sometimes called social engineering. And once when you leave the work and you go in a pub, you remember before the COVID, Tony, 5 p.m. People go in a pub, right? They're going to drink and everything else.
Yes.
And always come back to this one. Do you really believe that there's everybody genuinely there? There's a people there for you, for the reason. We can discuss about this many hours about this one. But the point is, doesn't matter how much passwords you put, firewalls on your
You can't
computers.
stop people talking after a few beers.
People sit on a train. People lose the mobile phones. People lose the iPads. People lose the USBs on a train. So that's what it is. And once when you identify, so prevention is the key. Now you're moving in economical espionage. Economic espionage is against the country harboring somebody, elements, and assessing the threats. My country assess the threats in a way that I need to understand, as we say, your transportation, your logistics in the country. So this one, and that's the elements where there comes a sabotage, diversions. This is the other side. So this is like preventing somebody, some country, of getting momentum, being profitable, being successful, abundant, and all this one by understanding their program, some country potentials, and you assign different type of people to sabotage or prevent diversions. You heard so many times there was a fire in some plant or some research facility. I always say like,
no fire.
Yeah, and the answer of this one, it is education and training to understand how espionage works. There is no right and wrong. If people have the loyalty to the company, they will understand this. People who don't understand what espionage is, they're going to be victim of modus operandi, any type of social engineering or human intelligence gathering without even knowing. And that's the scariest part. And people don't understand this. So my role in my business is to coach and train businesses
I was just going to say, down the track, Mario and I are actually going to be talking about the huge role that Mario and his company plays in training and educating. The
Yes, correct.
huge role.
Excuse me.
Mario's has extensive training and education and has the Insight Intelligent University that covers all this realm. And we'll talk about that in another show. It's very important that people understand. Mario, would you say that a lot of your time is spent around education, educating companies, getting them to understand how they can protect themselves, how they can protect their employees, how to protect their intellectual property, those sorts of things? Is that that's a big part of your company work, isn't it?
Absolutely, Tony. I always come back from that angle. Prevention is the mother of all victories in a
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
Without preparations and educations and prevention, you can't hope that you're going to stay on the market untouched,
yeah,
unscared. You
yeah,
know, what I mean, as soon as you start, and this is the problem with the companies, because companies spending quite a lot of money in promotion, in marketing, getting momentum
yeah.
on social media, which is okay. I say it's okay. But then what I saw the lack in a couple large corporations is called something was called the war room, right? And that was a practice we did have in the government sector. So where we practice it once per month, the worst case scenarios, right? And it's
Yeah,
called the predictive analysis or pre-mortem analysis. What, everybody knows what's a post-mortem, like, oh,
yeah,
someone is
yeah.
dead and
After it's happened,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you want to stop things before they happen.
that's correct. So you're doing this something what's called a excuse me, pre-mortem analysis, where
Yeah.
you in certain ways you creating scenarios and you put everybody on under duress as a part of exercise
Mm.
to see
Yeah.
response. And most of
Ah.
corporations they forgot. They move from offices to work from home.
Virtual. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I know the world is not flat, but I'm saying it's flat. And for the figure of speech, from point A to point B, like you and I and
Yes.
our team in US and our listeners, it's a flat line.
Yes. Yes.
You just need to tap into the flat line, which is the internet, right? And that's how this problem starts. And the best espionage is being not discovered according to the length of the time.
Mm.
So education, prevention, and training, it's required. Pre-mortem analysis, only intelligence agencies using this type of approach. And as I said before, you can put on internet whatever you like. You can tell employees whatever
Mm.
you want. As long
Mm.
as there's understanding how to prevent espionage, how to prevent leakage of information.
Mm.
And let's go not be fooled here, Tony. Counterintelligence is a different process. It's looking for the problems within your company
Mm.
and using that identified person or group who are working for your competitor to send wrong signals out. So there's a complex situation, but again, it's a simplified. You can simplify this very, very easily.
Yeah.
And that's bigger you are, bigger problem you become, right?
Ah.
For the somebody. And espionage, it is a very dangerous field, very costly to investigate, but it's easier to prevent through education and everything else. And look,
Ah.
after all, Tony, you and I can, sorry, I don't have my mobile phone, it is, you can buy the phone and you can do reverse engineering,
Yes.
you see what's inside.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yet, why would you do this when the easiest part it is, which everybody neglecting, it's just approach to Tony for coffee in a coffee shop. Hi, Tony.
How
How's
you
your
doing?
yeah, yeah, I saw you on TV. People engage in conversation.
Yeah.
And then you have that thing what we had before the COVID, that coffee shops, people leaving the business cards. It's a culture in Australia, which I never saw nowhere, that people leaving their business
Ah.
cards in a small pots,
Yes. 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 Yes.
I
At the
know
coffee shop.
it's gonna be draw for the something. I'm like, man, you can just put the hand inside, get a couple of business cards, and you can, if you're the perpetrator, fraudster, you can be Tony Lontis, Mario Bekes,
Yes. And off
Magic,
you go.
and that's how everything starts.
Ah. Oh, I'm never
It's
going
the
to
best
look at
way.
those. I'm never going to look at those business card bowls again the same, Mario, quite
Yeah,
frankly. Oh my goodness. Now something else that we wanted to talk about on the show
please.
today is something called geospatial intelligence.
That's correct.
Tell the audience what geospatial intelligence was, because I thought it was fascinating. I'd
Mm.
never heard of geospatial intelligence before until I was researching for this show. So, Mario, tell the audience, what is it and
Thank you,
how's it
Tony.
used?
Thank you, Tony, for asking this question.
It's good stuff.
Well, it's very good stuff, but we need to make a difference between what corporate investigative firms
Yes.
like mine can do and the government. So
Yes.
geospatial spatial intelligence, it's uh, no locating, but it's more or less it's a reactive in
Mm-hmm.
my case, where
Mm-hmm.
we by utilizing the tools looking. I can explain it simply. Government has the satellites. Government has
Yes.
they have access to the telecommunication towers and everything else. I put this very simple. There was a certain type of elements of criminal activities has been happening against my client, and then we've been approached and say how we can see what's happening. Now, the most dangerous device for every criminal is a mobile phone, because mobile phone is continuously working.
Mm.
And when you use a mobile phone, so we are talking about GPSs sticking on the car. Again,
Yes.
for my type of business, that's illegal. We don't do this. Government can do GPSs in the car, and we can't. But what you can
Mario,
do
can you
is
follow the can you track someone's mobile phone though? Are you allowed to do that?
you can track movements if you want.
Ah.
Because every time when you using the mobile phone, it's not your
Mm-hmm.
signal you sending. This is what the people don't understand. It's you passing by telecommunications towers. And when you pick up the coordinates of the telecommunication towers
That's where
and
that person is.
then you put, so that, I don't know, I just figure of speech just for the
Yes.
purpose of
Yes,
the
yes.
conversation. In Sydney, I'm walking from my home to my work, right, with my mobile phone. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to pass by 2 or 3 telecommunication towers. Now, you can identify somebody's else phone passing that tower because it's a public website, right? You
Yes.
can
Yes,
type
yes.
and you can see where the phone was being used. And then you put next overlay, it's a map. And then you put a dot
Where they
here,
are.
dot here, dot here, dot there. And then you can see the roads, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
when you access this information, you can see the phone was being used exactly time. It's not
Mm.
100% accurate, it's a 90% accuracy. But what you're doing, it's utilizing the resources of geospatial intelligence as a telecommunication towers, satellites, GPSs, and everything else
Mm.
of the movement of somebody person. Again, in my type of business, we cannot use satellites because we don't have. We
No.
can't use GPSs sticking on a car, somebody, these things, because it's illegal. But
Yeah.
government can do this. And
Yeah.
I remember, to demonstrate this even better, when I was working government sector, we have something was called the stables, right? Like for the horses, where the 2 guys or 2 ladies were listening audio. There was a supervisor behind who will listen same things, monitoring what they wrote in the notes, and then they look at the
Mm.
map where the phone will go, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have the audio from the vehicle, mobile phone where he's moving, and then on a map you can do this. This is not like a James Bond, and like in a movie, it's like, guys, I want to know where he is, and everybody's just like tap the map. It doesn't work that way because first you need to
Yeah.
locate the person. And the only way to locate the person it is through the visual surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have that geospatial because it's your telecommunications. So it's basically using
Data and
um,
space.
data in space around you, which you don't
Mm.
even notice it, which is a
Mm.
telecommunication tower, satellites, GPSs. That's how they're monitoring, and they usually it's retroactively used to confirm to somebody moments that particular day and where they are. And usually that it is the group of people who hijacking the cars during the night, rob the ATMs.
Yeah.
So like,
Yes.
I can't divulge everything because, it's not educated criminals, but
No.
mobile phones are people, believing, there is no CCTV there, nobody see me. It
But your
doesn't
mobile
necessarily
phone.
it's there. And your mobile phone is always active. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you do. And
Yeah.
that's what the people don't understand. The signal, it's different from the mobile phone, even it's on or off, but control tower, sorry,
Ah.
I haven't say control tower. Telecommunication tower, it's early, it's picking up your signal. And that's what the geospatial intelligence is. You put the map and then by locating person, by utilizing all these methods and all these tools and all these um, gadgets are available to you to locate in space, in time that this person or
Where
group
someone
was
is.
someone it is.
Yeah.
And it's easy because the access to the control towers
Everyone
is,
has
and
mobile
people,
phones now. That must make spying easier. Like outside of what you do, that must make spying a little easier.
it's more to confirm you're suspicious. It's more to
Yeah.
confirm for example, in investigation, there's operational activities where you talk to somebody, investigating, interrogating, collecting the facts and evidence. I'm just throwing everything in one big box. However, you need to confirm these things. You can't come on a court that's like, yeah, well, but they can say
Think he
like,
was there.
that's correct. So they can, police, when it comes to that lane, they say, we know that this person has been there because we
On
captured
this day, at
on
this
this
time,
day the
because their mobile
mobile phones
phone.
used. I gave to my brother. Yeah, that's okay, but there's CCTV across the road, exits you.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's like a mapping of somebody's movements with utilizing all these electronic devices, whatever it's existing. It's a CCTV on a bank, it's a mobile phone, it's a satellite. Excuse me. And then you position that person where he's moving. That's in a nutshell, not to confuse the
Yes.
audience. So
Yeah.
this is not a movie. And hi, Tony, you say, Mario, I want you to find where's my friend George? Yes, skins, boom, boom, boom. It doesn't work that way. And it's a different process, Tony, and it takes
Yes.
a lot of time, a lot of
Yes.
skills. And that's the
Yes.
reason why digital age it's better for capturing criminals than maybe
Which is
40 years
good.
ago. Yeah.
Which is good though, but it conversely will also help you catch people doing the wrong thing if they're supposed
Correct.
to be at work or they're supposed to be off on sick leave or something. That those are the things that
Yeah, we're surprised
you
how many corporations actually tracking their employees, and they know they're being tracked.
ah
I don't want to mention the names, but they know exactly where they are in the building because they have the lanyards
yeah
with a card, and it's actually it's behind this. They've been told it's a GPS there. So if my boss called me, it's like, where am I told? It's like, oh man, I know where you are and how much time. So
down the
like all,
pub.
yeah, but that's all this tracking. It's actually, I want you to understand, Tony, and listen, and the audience. Every time when the government launches something to catch the criminals or employees to be monitored, there is always antidote, right?
Yeah,
They're just always going to look for the way to
around it.
around it. And that's a say surveillance is something that people believe they know how to do it, but it's they know how to go and discover, or some car is following me. Is not. Sometimes you have the serial surveillance. We mentioned this before. Sometimes you have the parallel. Parallel will be, I mean, when you and I, have the two vehicles on a highway following you, then you're
Yeah.
noticing the black vehicle, it's following you, but white it stays with you. Serial it is that we have the stages. I mean, you're driving to home, and you're passing one, second, third, fourth vehicle. Many cases we're doing that way. We're not being followed, but people believe by going on a Google, I'm going to discover this. It doesn't work that way. Same with the geospatial intelligence. So
Yeah, yeah. Mario, how is high resolution optical and radar imagery used in what you do? And can you give us some examples of that?
We don't using the radars. As I said,
Yeah.
like again, I always say I want audience understand that this is not our part of the job because you're a corporate investigative firm.
Yes.
Government sectors
Yes.
does. But I can talk about optics. The clarity of the images today and the video, I mean, still images and the video, it's
Yes.
unbelievable.
Yes.
And there is no altering when you give the client, you can't go and say somebody, listen, I done surveillance on you, but footage is not good. Can I come back? So it must be done the right first time. And that is
Yeah.
the way I give the pride to every investigator working for my firm alongside with me.
Yes.
That is, they investing a lot of time to purchase the equipment which is commercially available to all of us.
Yeah.
For the sake of producing the quality images. Now, again, as I said before, we don't do surveillances during night because there's no infrared equipment available for us to buy commercial world utilized. And that type of imagery, it cannot be on a court, be seriously taken.
Okay.
Why I'm saying this, because every time when our client goes in the court, the identity must be confirmed prior even investigation starts. So we have the picture of me, and then we to compare picture when we see somebody during surveillance. That person corresponding to description
Is the same
given
person.
to us, the same person. So more light we have, but again, Tony, there's today technology. Okay, I divulge some information. Today, the technology is going so advanced that here what's it calling? The mobile phone looks like a mobile phone.
Yeah.
And they have the camera here on top, right?
Yes.
And sorry, here, right? And
yes.
then you just put on a phone on a what's it called, desk and records.
Yes.
And the glasses which is recording, you have the key rings.
Yes.
So that there's no more bulk equipment. Now the equipment it's smaller, less invasive, less intrusive.
Yeah.
And it's harder for you or anybody to spot.
To pick.
Correct. And yet again, it is how this is being done. You can't take this in a place where the kids are. There's no problem. But anytime when you go to court, the magistrate or the lawyers or DPP or the barrister is going to argue this is the person on the footage.
Yeah.
So you had one opportunity and one opportunity
to get
only.
It right.
Yeah. When we record and when the surveillance goes, that this is being done in a way that nobody has objection to confirm identity, surroundings, and it's being done legally and lawfully. Very important. If it's not done legally and lawfully, then you have you breach the law, acts, legislations, which is illegal and that cannot be used. You can't do the entrapments. I read it many times in the past. Some of my competitors use some type of entrapments, putting the papers on the car so client needs to pick it up. It don't work this way.
Yeah.
When surveillance is successful, planned, person who's under surveillance, either it's gonna do something stupid and confirm that they have capacity, or they don't have capacity. So it doesn't matter what you do. But that's like important thing it is always in our type of world that when we do the report, which is going, on a paper as well. So it's in a paper. Because don't forget one thing, when we submit the work, most of the time, our work doesn't go just to our client. Our client needs to submit to the other law firm as well. So they're reading and it's like, God, man, but they believe they know, so they know how to defend the client, but they cannot argue. The clarity of image must be as best possible. Low visibility, so we don't do surveillance during night. Government, again, they have a choppers and satellites and everything else.
Yeah.
So this is the world people don't see. So the moment we wake up, it's 10 to 6 in the morning.
Yes.
I believe there's a lot of surveillance happening in my neighborhood right now.
Right now.
Yeah, waiting for people to go to work and for coffee and everything else.
Yeah.
So this is the work which doesn't start, 9 to 5. It starts 4
It
o'clock.
starts daylight.
Yeah.
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 Wow, Mario. Listen, we are almost out of time, and one
Yes,
question I wanted to get in is
please.
about artificial intelligence
Mm.
and machine learning and how that comes together in what you do, Mario.
I'll say the one aspect. Uh, in past, I will say since 2011,
Mm-hmm.
there was a big boom in artificial intelligence, particularly
Yes.
in that computer learning, which means computers are being designed now, and there's a ample of softwares which they're learning itself how to track and monitor somebody's behavior on the internet.
Mm.
I'm not sure that you remember the movie, and so I'll try to demonstrate something very, very, very familiar. Um, I think it's called 13 Soldiers or 13 Hour in Benghazi. It was that
Yes, yes, yes,
US embassy. That's a
yes,
true event, number one.
yes.
And secondly, there's a company which I know quite well. They helped um, to map to the software position of the insurgents. And
Oh,
that's like,
wow.
so artificial intelligence evolving so much that being utilized, like how to demonstrate your mobile phone, your Twitter account, your picture,
Mm,
what you say, who did you say what, and everything else. It's
mm,
very, very important, and we can apply this through the commercial softwares and for the social media intelligence.
mm.
That's where everything starts and stops.
Yeah.
However, governments, they do have the capacity again, and I never work in government when this is happening in 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
But I'm certain now what I'm reading across the network and media, artificial intelligence, it is not the problem, is doing good to humanity or not, preventing the fraud, preventing crime.
Yes,
It's
yes.
ethical issues, right?
Yes.
How it's being applied.
Yes. Yes.
Eric Snowden, you remember him?
Yes,
He
yes,
ran
I
away.
do.
He was the one who actually designed many things, and without
Oh,
you knowing, like our cameras
ah.
on our laptops has been working without knowing. The mobile phone was recording, so
Yeah.
he tapped into this. So artificial intelligence is a good in every aspect of the life. However, that how it's been applied, it's opening can of worms, which is
Ethical questions.
ethical question, how
Yeah.
it's been applied. And I don't have doubt that it's being used maybe in some country for political elections, as you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Um,
Definitely.
but in my type of work, my type of line of work, we don't have access to these things as yet. But I'm seeing
But
across the
that'll
network.
come, won't it,
Yeah, it
Mario?
will come, of
That'll
course.
filter down to your
Yeah.
company eventually, won't it?
To you as well, because
Yeah,
after
yeah.
all, when
Yes.
some company with 3 letters, acronym or
Yes.
four,
Yes.
they say
Yes.
like, oh, we need something new. Of course, they're gonna be. Look, you can go on the internet. There's a very good softwares you can purchase commercially from either Microsoft or SAP, SIS for gathering, collecting the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Harvesting data for many
Mm-hmm.
years. And of course, there's no commercial for them because I'm not using these types.
Mm.
I always come back to this thing. When I see something on internet, just giving to me, it's too good to be true. Like, I just to make
Yeah.
assessment. But there's plenty of softwares there which they are part of artificial intelligence to help the companies to do marketing, sales, promotion they're
Yes.
using. So yeah, you're right. It's gonna come down to us
It
as
is.
well.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mario, we're almost out of time, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to finish this week without talking about your books. I want the
Mm.
audience to know all of your books. Can you tell us about all of them just quickly? We've got 2 minutes left.
Okay. Started with the chaos theory, just as a part. Ended up now with the blood, soccer, soil. However, all my 6 books has been related to the identity, whistleblowing,
Mm.
informant management plan, espionage, and investigation. And then my latest book, The Blood, Soccer, Soil, it's my
It's
personal
a
account.
mem.
It's
Yes,
like a memoir, my personal account
it
as an
is.
18 years old, you know, from communism to democracy, and
Yeah.
seeing the world through my eyes, not just as a combat, but rather than to describe how I felt and how I was feeling and what was happening around
Yes.
me when the war started. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's I've got the audio version, so I've been listening to Mario tell me his own story in his own words. It's pretty powerful stuff.
Thank you, Toni.
One of the things that we're going to talk about in coming weeks, and just quickly so that the audience knows, is the next time we talk will be about forensic investigation. The next week after that, we're going to talk about whistleblowers and informant management.
Yeah.
Really great topic to get into. And then in the 6th week, we're going to talk about all the amazing training and education that Mario is involved with, and the courses, and that's what we've got coming up on the shows over the next couple of weeks. We're heading into Easter, so we're actually going to be on an Easter break next week, but we will be back again the following week with forensic investigations, which will be amazing. Yeah. Mario, your books are available everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere. Plus the audio version, and some of those for people who are really interested in intelligence and intelligence management. Please go to Mario's website, insightintelligence.com, and there's lots of fantastic information on there. You'll also see links to Mario's courses and training. He does some wonderful education for people who are interested in investigative investigation, and you get to benefit from Mario's decades of experience in this realm. Mario, we are out of time. I can't believe that show went so quickly.
It is.
I want
for 5 o'clock in the morning, you and I,
I know. Yes. I think we do well. We do
yes,
well.
Toni. Yes, very well, actually.
Have a wonderful Easter break, and my friend, we will talk again after Easter. For anyone, just if you're over the Easter break and you're interested in looking at something interesting and different, check out Mario's website. If you're a corporate or insurance person and you're listening, go on to Mario's website and learn how he can help your company with loads of things around risk management, corporate investigations, etc., etc. Mario Bekes, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Have a wonderful Easter. But that is your lot for this week, my friends. We will be back continuing this series after Easter, where we'll have another wonderful conversation with Mario then. Mario, thank you so much.
Happy Easter, Toni, to you and all listeners, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Happy Easter, everyone. We'll see you again shortly. Bye for now.
Bye. Like it is.